The cry that shook the refugee camp, was quiet at night, but not peaceful. The ruins of the alien colony lay beyond the barbed fences, glowing faintly under the broken moons. Tents flapped weakly in the cold wind. Fires burned low, throwing shadows on the dirt. Soldiers patrolled with rifles, their boots crunching over gravel. Everyone was tired. Everyone wanted silence. But silence was broken. A baby's cry tore through the night. It was sharp, desperate, and endless. Inside one of the old canvas tents, an alien woman held her infant close. Her skin was pale silver, her hair like dark silk falling over her face. Her eyes glowed faintly violet as tears rolled down her cheeks. She rocked the baby, whispered lullabies in her language, but nothing worked. The child screamed louder, its small fists trembling. Other refugees stirred. In anger, alien families turned their heads, covering their ears. Some cursed under their breath. "Why can't she control it?" one muttered. "That child will bring soldiers on us," said another. Even the human guards nearby grew restless. One soldier slammed his helmet on the table. "For crying out loud," he hissed. "That alien brat hasn't stopped all day." Another answered, "If it keeps up, the captain will throw them out." The mother heard every word, and her heart broke. She hugged her baby tighter, whispering, "Please, please stop. Don't understand." But the child cried harder, as if feeling her fear in the shadows of the camp. A human soldier watched. Sergeant Daniel Cole was sitting on a supply crate, rifle leaning against his leg. He had seen battles, he had lost brothers, and his soul carried scars. But tonight, his attention was fixed only on the sound of a baby. He could not look away from the tent where the cries came. Something about that sound pierced deeper than bullets. The cries did not annoy him. They unsettled him. They reminded him of memories he had buried, memories of his younger sister back on Earth, of a hospital ward where machines beeped, of a baby who never stopped crying, until silence came forever. Daniel stood slowly, his jaw tightening. He saw the alien woman stepping out of the tent, rocking the baby. Her face was pale with exhaustion, her lips trembling. The other refugees glared at her, some pulling their children away. To them, she was a curse in flesh. "Go farther," one alien hissed. "Take it away from us." She turned her eyes down, ashamed, and walked toward the far edge of the camp. Her steps were unsteady. She whispered to the child, but the cries shook the night even louder, echoing across tents and fires. Daniel's commander, Captain Reeves, stormed out of his tent. His patience was gone. "What is this nonsense again?" he barked. His eyes found the woman and child. "I warned you before, control that thing, or I'll have them thrown beyond the fence." The woman froze, her whole body shaking. She fell to her knees, bowing her head. "Please," she whispered in broken human words. "Baby, sick. Not stop. Not his fault." The captain's face twisted with disgust. "Sick or not, I won't let a damn alien baby endanger my men." Daniel's fists clenched. His eyes moved between the captain, the mother, and the baby, whose wails grew weaker, as if running out of breath. Something inside Daniel snapped, not in anger, but in decision. He stepped forward. "Sir," Daniel said firmly, his voice cutting the tense air. "Let me handle this." The captain frowned. "Handle it? Cole, you're wasting your time. These people aren't worth." Daniel ignored him. He walked straight to the alien woman. She flinched as he came close, clutching the baby protectively. Afraid he might strike, but Daniel only knelt in front of her. "Let me try," he said softly. His voice was calm, almost gentle. The mother stared at him, unsure. Her violet eyes trembled. Slowly, almost unwillingly, she placed the child into his arms. The baby's cries filled Daniel's ears, loud and desperate. He adjusted his grip awkwardly. It had been so many years since he had held a child. Carefully, he cradled the small, alien infant against his chest. And then something strange happened. The crying stopped. The baby blinked up at him, tiny breaths shuddering. Its glowing eyes, the same shade as its mother's, stared into his. Then, with a small, tired sigh, the baby rested its head against Daniel's chest and went quiet. The camp froze. Every eye watched in shock. The alien mother gasped, covering her mouth with trembling hands. The captain blinked in disbelief. The other refugees whispered in awe. The child, who hadn't stopped crying for days, had fallen silent the moment. The human soldier touched it. Daniel's arms tightened protectively. He looked down at the baby, then at the mother. Her eyes were wide with hope and confusion. For the first time, someone had shared her burden. But deep inside, Daniel felt something he couldn't explain. Why had the baby stopped crying only for him? Why did the child's tiny heartbeat feel so strong against his chest? Something had changed that night. Something no one in the camp could ignore. The cry that shook the camp had brought two worlds together. And nothing would be the same. Again, the soldiers' choice to camp had fallen into an uneasy silence. Everyone had seen it. The alien child, who had wailed for days without rest, was now quiet in the arms of a human soldier. The fire crackled softly, and all eyes turned toward Sergeant Daniel Cole. Captain Reeves stood stiff, his face dark with confusion and anger. "This is nonsense," he muttered, trying to shake off the strangeness of the moment. "Cole, hand the brat back and get back to your post. You're not here to play, nurse." But Daniel didn't move. He held the baby against his chest as if it belonged there, as if letting go would break something inside him. The infant's breathing was steady now. Its tiny hands curled into his uniform. For the first time in days, peace had returned to the campfire. The alien mother, still kneeling, looked up at him with wet, violet eyes. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "How? How you do this? Baby no cry with you." Daniel shook his head slowly. "I don't know," he admitted. Voice was low, almost thoughtful, "but he feels safe with me." The refugees murmured among themselves. Some were shocked, others afraid. Why trust a human? One alien asked in a hushed voice. "Maybe it is a trick." Another whispered, "No. Look, the child chose him." Captain Reeves snapped. "Quiet, all of you." He stepped closer to Daniel, his jaw tight. "Listen to me, Cole. These people are not our concern. Our orders are to keep the peace, not to babysit. That child is nothing but trouble." Daniel looked straight at his commander. His heart pounded, but his voice stayed calm. "With respect, sir, if this baby cries like before, it puts the whole camp at risk. You know it? The enemy could hear for miles. I can keep him calm." Reeves glared. "And what you want to be this alien's caretaker. That's not your duty." Daniel said nothing. He just adjusted the baby gently in his arms, ignoring the weight of the stairs. The silence stretched heavy between them. The mother suddenly spoke, her voice trembling but strong. "Please, let him help. My baby's safe with him. I beg you." Her words cut through the air. Reeves scowled, then threw up his hands. "Fine. Do what you want, Cole. But when this falls apart, and it will, it's on you." He marched back to his tent, muttering curses under his breath. The crowd slowly melted away, but their whispers lingered. Some were curious, some were jealous, others were frightened. But one thing was clear. The human soldier had done what no alien or mother could. He had silenced the impossible cries. Later, Daniel sat near the edge of the camp with the baby still in his arms. The alien woman followed, sitting a short distance away. The firelight lit her tired face, her silver skin gleaming faintly. For a long time, neither spoke. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "What's his name?" She looked at him, surprised. "Name? Yes, your baby." Her lips trembled into a soft, sad smile. "His name is Kale." She spoke it carefully, as if the name itself was fragile. Daniel repeated it under his breath. Kale, the baby, shifted in his arms, making a tiny sound, but didn't cry. Daniel couldn't help but smile faintly. "You're his mother," Daniel said gently. "Why do you think he trusts me?" She lowered her eyes. "I not know." Maybe he sense heart. Maybe Kale feel who's safe, who not safe. Her voice broke. His father, gone. Killed when our home burned. I alone, Kale only gift I have. Daniel's chest tightened. He remembered his sister again and the small baby she had lost. He remembered the promise he couldn't keep. Maybe, he thought, this was his second chance. He looked at the woman. "I'll help you. I don't know why, but I can't walk away." Her eyes widened. She stared at him as though unsure if she should believe him. "Why you human, we enemy?" Daniel shook his head firmly. "Not tonight. Tonight, you're just a mother, and he's just a baby. That's all that matters." For the first time, she let out a weak laugh, half relief, half sorrow. She pulled her shawl tighter around her shoulders, whispering in her language a word Daniel didn't understand. But the tone was clear. Gratitude. From a distance, two soldiers watched. "Cole's losing it," one whispered. "He's getting too close." Or maybe, the other replied softly, "He's doing what we should have done." But above them, all unseen in the shadows beyond the fence, other eyes watched. Dark figures moved slowly in the ruins, drawn by curiosity, and by the silence that had replaced the cries. The night was calm now, but danger was closer than anyone realized. And Daniel, holding the alien child, had unknowingly made his choice, a choice that would change everything. The whisper of trust morning light crept over the camp, soft and cold. Smoke from last night's fires hung low in the air, and soldiers moved about with heavy steps, preparing for another long day. The camp always looked the same: tired faces, broken people, watchtowers standing like skeletons against the sky. But something had changed. In one corner, Sergeant Daniel Cole sat with the alien child still sleeping in his arms. The baby Kale rested quietly, his chest rising and falling without a sound. It was a sight no one thought possible. For the first time in days, silence truly existed in the camp. The alien mother sat close by, her violet eyes fixed on Daniel. She had barely slept, afraid that at any moment the peace would end. But instead, her son remained calm, his small fingers clutching the soldier's uniform as if holding on to life itself. Other refugees watched from a distance. Whispers spread like fire. "The baby sleeps with a human," one muttered. "Why?" "Not with us," said another. Some looked with suspicion, others with envy, but all with confusion. Even Daniel's fellow soldiers noticed. A young private walked past, staring. "Never thought I'd see the day," he said under his breath. Another guard chuckled nervously. "Careful, Cole. You'll have the aliens asking you to raise all their kids." Daniel ignored them. His focus stayed on Kale and the woman. Finally, he spoke quietly, his voice almost gentle. "You should rest. I'll hold him." She hesitated, torn between fear and relief. Her alien tongue formed words that stumbled in human speech. "Why you? Why you help us?" Daniel thought for a long moment. The answer wasn't easy. This gaze fell on the child's peaceful face. "Because no one else would," he said finally. "Because he needs someone, and because His voice dropped lower. I know what it feels like to lose someone small. I couldn't save her, but maybe I can save him. The woman's lips parted slightly. She studied him as though seeing not just a soldier, but something else hidden deep inside. Slowly, carefully, she whispered in her language a word that Daniel didn't understand. She placed her hand over her chest, then pointed softly at him. What did you say? Daniel asked. Her voice trembled, but carried warmth. It mean, protector. The word struck him harder than any weapon. Protector. He looked at her, and for the first time, she did not lower her eyes. A fragile trust had begun to grow between them. But trust was dangerous in a place like this. Later that afternoon, Captain Reeves called Daniel into his tent. Maps and weapons littered the table. The captain's expression was hard as stone. Cool. I'll say this once. You're stepping out of line. Daniel stood firm. With respect, sir, I kept the camp safe. If the baby kept crying, we'd all be dead by now. Reeves slammed his hand on the table. Don't play smart with me. Don't care about your miracle touch. That alien child is a liability. You think you're some hero, holding it like it's yours. This is war, Cole. You don't get to choose favorites. Daniel's jaw clenched. It's not about favorites. It's about doing what's right. The captain leaned closer, his voice low and cold. You want to play father to that alien? Brat, fine. But when the order comes to remove them, you better not stand in my way, or you'll regret it. Daniel left the tent with his fists shaking. He didn't tell the mother what the captain said. But as he returned to her side, her eyes searched his face, sensing the storm within him. That night, danger returned. The wind howled outside the fences, carrying strange echoes. Shadows moved among the ruins beyond the camp. Alien scouts whispered to each other nervously. Something was coming. Daniel, restless, stayed awake near the fire. The mother sat beside him, Kale sleeping quietly in her arms again. For a moment, it almost felt like a family, 3 figures huddled against the cold. Then the baby stirred. His tiny hands waved in the air, and he let out a soft cry, not loud, but strange. It was not the sound of hunger or pain. It was warning. The mother stiffened. Her eyes widened, glowing faintly in the firelight. He know, she whispered, clutching Kale close. Daniel frowned. Know what? She shook her head quickly, fear in her voice. Baby feel things, sense danger. That why? He cry before, not just fear, not just hunger. He cry when danger near. Daniel's blood turned cold. He looked past the camp's fences. In the distance, faint lights flickered to many, too steady to be fire. His instincts screamed. Something was moving out there. Something organized. He stood, gripping his rifle. Stay here, he told her. The woman grabbed his arm, her hand trembling. No. If enemy come, they take Kale. They want him. Must protect. Daniel's breath caught. Suddenly, the pieces fit. The baby's strange cries, the way enemies. Raided at night, the constant danger. The child was not just a burden, he was a target. He looked down at the baby, then at the mother. Her eyes burned with desperation and trust. For the first time, she wasn't begging, she wasn't trusting. Daniel tightened his grip on the rifle. His voice was steady, filled with a promise he couldn't break. They'll have to go through me first. The baby let out a soft sigh, calming. Again, as if reassured, the night pressed heavy, filled with unknown threats, but something had changed forever. The alien woman had whispered trust into the human soldier's heart. And for the first time, Daniel Cole was ready to fight, not for orders, not for his army, but for them. The night raid the camp slept under a silver moon. Fires had burned low, leaving only red embers that glowed like tired eyes in the dark. Most soldiers lay in their bunks, rifles beside them, while refugees huddled together in their tents. The only sounds were the cold wind and the faint creak of fences, but Daniel Cole did not sleep. He sat near the edge of the camp, eyes scanning the ruins beyond. The alien mother sat close, rocking Kale in her arms. The baby was quiet now, but Daniel couldn't shake her words from earlier. He cries when danger near. Tonight, Kale had stirred again. Loud, not frantic, but restless tiny whimpers, soft sighs, little fists clenching. Daniel trusted his instincts, but he also trusted the strange truth in the baby's reactions. Something was coming. Suddenly, the faintest sound reached his ears, metallic click, far beyond the fence. Then another. Shadows moved between the ruins. His blood ran cold. He stood quickly. "Get down," he whispered to the mother. She obeyed, clutching Kale tightly as she crouched low behind the crates. Daniel raised his rifle, eyes narrowing at the movement in the dark. Then, like a wave, the silence shattered. Gunfire erupted. Bright streaks of plasma cut through the night sky, slamming into the fences. Explosions shook the ground and alarms blared across the camp. Refugees screamed as tents ripped apart, sparks flying. Soldiers scrambled awake, grabbing weapons, shouting orders. "Raiders," someone screamed. To the walls. The enemy had come at last. Figures stormed out of the shadows, armored raiders, their helmets glowing red, their weapons spitting fire. They moved fast, breaking through weak points in the fence. Their voices barked commands in a language Daniel didn't know, but their purpose was clear. They weren't here for the camp. They were here for something inside it. Daniel's eyes snapped to Kale. The baby was crying, now louder than ever, his small voice rising above the chaos. The sound pierced Daniel's chest like a blade. He knew the raiders wanted him, the alien. Mother clutched Kale close, her face pale with terror. "They come for baby," she cried. Daniel didn't hesitate. "Stay behind me," he ordered. He fired his rifle, the sharp crack echoing across the camp. One raider fell, another ducked behind the wreckage. Daniel moved fast, shielding the mother and child with his body as the air filled with smoke and screams. Captain Reeves stormed into the chaos, shouting orders. "Hold the line. Don't let them breach." But even as he yelled, Daniel saw fear flash in his commander's eyes. These raiders were not ordinary scavengers. They were organized, trained, and determined. The baby's cries seemed to draw them like moths to flame. Daniel saw it in the way the raiders moved, the direction of their charge. They weren't firing blindly, they were pushing toward him, toward Kale. Bullets ripped past. Sparks flew. Daniel dove behind a half-broken wall with the mother and child, his heart pounding. He looked into her eyes. "If they get through, run. Don't stop. Don't look back." She shook her head violently. "No, I not leave. You protect, we together." For a moment, Daniel almost argued. But then Kale's small hand reached out, brushing his uniform. The baby's glowing violet eyes stared at him through tears. Something deeper than words passed between them. Daniel's chest tightened. "Then we stay together." He rose again. Rifle blazing. 2 raiders dropped, but more replaced them. Explosions ripped through the camp, scattering soldiers and refugees alike. Fire lit the night in orange waves, and smoke burned Daniel's lungs. Beside him, the mother whispered softly in her tongue, holding Kale tight even as her tears fell. Daniel couldn't understand her words, but he knew what they meant. Prayers. Suddenly, a blast struck close, throwing Daniel to the ground. His ears rang, vision spinning. The mother screamed, shielding Kale with her body. Pain seared through Daniel's shoulder, but he forced himself up, dragging them both behind cover. His rifle clicked empty. No more rounds. The raiders closed in, their glowing eyes fixed on the crying child. One raised a clawed hand, a net gun sparking to life. Daniel stood tall, spreading his arms wide in front of the mother and baby. His voice roared above the fire and screams, "You want him? You'll go through me first." The raider sneered beneath his helmet, stepping closer. But then something strange happened. Kale's cries shifted. They weren't just cries anymore. They were a pulse, a vibration that echoed through the air like a wave. The ground trembled. Beneath their feet, the flames bent as if caught by unseen wind. The raiders froze for a moment, startled. Daniel stared at the baby in shock. His cries were not just sound, they carried something else. Power. The raiders hesitated, unsure. And in that single heartbeat of confusion, Daniel lunged, tackling the closest enemy with a savage force. He tore the net gun from its grip, swinging it like a weapon. The alien mother screamed his name, but he didn't stop. The camp burned around them, the night alive with chaos. And in the center of it all, one soldier stood between death and the life of a child. The raid had begun. The real battle was only starting. The secret within the baby the camp was burning. Flames leaped high into the night sky, and smoke stung every eye. Soldiers shouted orders, refugees screamed, and the ground shook with every explosion. Yet, in the middle of the chaos, all Daniel could hear was the baby's cry. But this time, the cry was different. It was not just sound, it was a force. Each wail from Kale carried a vibration, a strange energy that rippled through the ground and air. Raiders staggered as if struck by invisible waves, their weapons shaking in their hands. Some fell to their knees, clutching their helmets. Daniel, still bleeding from his shoulder, held the child tight, staring in disbelief. What are you doing, kid?" The alien mother knelt beside him, her face pale but her eyes burning with fear. She whispered words in her own language, fast and desperate. Then she looked at Daniel. "I must tell. Truth. You must know." Daniel's chest heaved as he fired another stolen shot at the raiders, forcing them back for a moment. "Now is not exactly story time," he growled. But she shook her head sharply. "You must understand, Kale. Not normal child. He's special. Bloodline rare. His cry, it call power." Daniel blinked, his heart racing. "Power? You mean he's doing this?" She nodded, clutching her shawl tight around her shoulders. "Yes. His father's line. Old race, strong, enemy, no. That why they come? They want Kale. They use him as a weapon." Her words hit Daniel harder than the bullets flying overhead. The pieces fell into place. The raids, the baby's endless crying, the way enemies seemed to track them. It wasn't just chance. Kale was more than a child. He was a key one the enemy would kill or enslave to control. Daniel's eyes hardened. He looked at Kale, still, glowing faintly as his cries sent shockwaves across the battlefield. "Then we don't let them take him. Ever." The raiders regrouped. A tall figure stepped forward, larger than the rest, armored in black plates with glowing red marks. His voice boomed through the night. "Give us the child. The weapon belongs to us." Daniel stood, shielding the mother and baby with his body. His voice roared back. "Over my dead body," the commander raised a hand. Dozens of raiders moved in, their weapons aimed. Plasma bolts filled the air, striking sandbags and walls. Daniel ducked, pulling the mother and Kale behind a broken barrier. His rifle was nearly empty again. He couldn't fight them all. Then, Kale cried once more, louder than ever. The air rippled like a storm. A shockwave burst outward, knocking several raiders off their feet. The ground itself split, cracks racing like lightning through the dirt. The mother clutched her son tightly, whispering, "Please, Cale, stop. You hurt yourself." But the baby's power only grew. Daniel felt the vibration in his bones, shaking. His teeth, yet at the same time he felt something else. The baby wasn't just screaming. He was reaching, calling, searching. Daniel placed a hand on Cale's tiny head, speaking firmly over the chaos. "Easy, kid. You're not alone. We've got you. I've got you." The baby's cries softened, though the glow in his eyes remained. The shock waves slowed, like a storm quieting after thunder. The raiders hesitated, confused by the sudden calm. The alien mother looked at Daniel with tears streaming down her cheeks. "Uck," he listened. "To you, only you." Daniel swallowed hard. He had no answer. But deep inside, he knew she was right. Somehow, for reasons he couldn't explain. Cale had chosen him. Captain Reeves appeared through the smoke, his face furious. "Cole, what the hell is this?" he shouted. "That thing is dangerous. Do you see what it's doing?" "He's a bomb, waiting to go off." Daniel snapped back. "He's a baby. He doesn't know what he's doing." Reeves aimed his pistol at Cale. His voice shook with rage. "Then we end this before it destroys us all. Step aside, Sergeant. That's an order." Time froze. Soldiers nearby turned, staring at the captain with wide eyes. The mother screamed, covering Cale with her body. Daniel's mind raced. Obey his commander or protect the child. His answer came like fire in his veins. Daniel stepped forward, planting himself between Reeves and the mother. His voice was steady, hard as steel. "No, sir. You'll have to shoot me first." The camp seemed to hold its breath. Reeves' pistol wavered in his grip. Fury twisted his face. "You'd betray your own orders." For an alien? Daniel didn't blink. Not for an alien. For a child? For the only thing in this war that's still innocent. For a long moment, neither moved. Then another explosion ripped through the camp, forcing everyone to scatter. The raiders were breaking through again. Daniel turned to the mother, grabbing her arm. "Run, take Cale, and run." She shook her head, tears falling. "We not survive? Without you?" Daniel tightened his grip on his rifle. His blood was hot, his heart steady. "Then I'll fight with you. But you listen to Mino, one takes him. Not while I'm alive." The baby whimpered, his glow fading slightly, as if comforted by Daniel's words. The battle raged on, but something had shifted forever. In that moment, Daniel Cole was no longer just a soldier. He had become Cale's protector, bound not by orders, but by choice, and the secret within the baby was no longer hidden. It was alive, powerful, and dangerous. The enemy wanted it. The commanders feared it. But Daniel, he would defend it, no matter the cost. Against the command smoke hung heavy. Over the ruined camp, fires burned in half-collapsed tents, and the cries of the wounded echoed in the night. Raiders had pulled back for now, but everyone knew they would return. The camp was broken, weak, and waiting to fall. In the center of the chaos stood Sergeant Daniel Cole, blood on his uniform, Cale clutched safely in his arms. The alien mother stood beside him, exhausted but unyielding. For a moment, Daniel felt the strange calm of survival, but it didn't last. Captain Reeves stormed across the rubble, his face red with fury. Behind him came two armed soldiers, rifles raised, their orders clear. "That's enough, Cole," the captain barked. His voice cut through the night like a whip. "Hand over the child." Daniel's jaw tightened. "He's just a baby." Reeves' eyes flashed. "Don't play blind. You saw it yourself." That thing nearly tore the ground apart. He's dangerous. If we don't control it, it will destroy us all. The mother stepped closer, shielding Cale with her own body. He is not weapon, she whispered in broken English. Only baby. Reeves sneered. A baby that can shatter the earth with a cry. No, he's a threat, and I will not allow threats in my camp. Daniel shifted, putting himself between them. With respect, sir, you're wrong. He's not a threat. He's a target. The raiders came for him. If we give him up, we're not saving the camp, we're delivering him. To the enemy, the captain's face twisted with rage. He raised his pistol, pointing it straight at Cale. Last chance, Cole, stand down. Every soldier nearby froze. The air was thick with tension. Every eye locked on Daniel. His heart pounded. He had spent years following orders, living by discipline. But tonight, he had found something stronger than duty. Slowly, Daniel spoke. His voice calm but iron-hard. No. The word echoed louder than the gunfire that had shaken the camp. Reeves' face went pale with fury. You defy me. You're finished, Cole. Stripped of rank, court-martial. Do you understand? Daniel didn't flinch. Then strip me, throw me in chains. But I won't let you touch him. He glanced at the child in his arms, then at the alien mother. His next words were louder, meant for all to hear. This isn't about orders anymore. This is about what's right. A murmur spread among the soldiers. Some looked away, ashamed. Others looked at Daniel with something like respect. They had all seen the baby's cries stop in his arms. They had seen the raiders charge toward him. Deep down, they knew the truth. 2. This was no ordinary fight. The captain's hand shook as he kept the pistol aimed. But before he could fire, the ground shook again. A distant explosion rocked the air. The raiders were regrouping for another attack. Daniel seized the moment. He pulled the mother to her feet, clutching Cale close. We're leaving, he said firmly. Reeves shouted after him. If you run, you're a traitor. You'll never step foot on Earth again. Daniel stopped, turned his head just enough. To reply, his voice was cold and steady. Then I'll find a new home. With them? And then he ran. They slipped into the shadows at the edge of the camp, moving fast over broken ground. The mother stumbled, but Daniel held her steady with his free hand. Cale whimpered, sensing the fear around him, but Daniel whispered softly, It's all right, kid. I've got you. We're not going to let them win. Behind them, soldiers shouted. Searchlights swept the night. Reeves' voice roared like thunder. Find them. Bring me the child. The mother's breath came in ragged gasps. We cannot escape. Too many soldiers, too many enemies. Daniel shook his head. We will. We don't need the camp. We just need distance. They crawled through broken walls, slipped under shattered fences, and ran into the ruins beyond. The night was cold, the stars sharp above them. Every shadow felt like a hunter. But Daniel didn't stop. His mind was clear. Protect the child, no matter what it cost. No matter what it cost. Hours later, they rested in the ruins of an old tower. The fires of the camp burned faintly in the distance. The mother cradled Cale, who had finally fallen asleep. Again, his glow dimmed to a soft shimmer. She looked at Daniel with wide, trembling eyes. You give up everything, your army, your life. Why? Daniel sat against the wall, exhausted but firm. He looked at her, then at Cale, his voice low. Because I've already lost too much, and I won't lose him too. Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she lowered her head, tears falling silently. For the first time, she didn't see him as just a soldier. She saw him as something more, someone who had chosen them when no one else would, far away. The raider commander watched the night sky from the hills. His glowing red eyes narrowed. "The child is leaving the camp," he growled. "Good. Without the army, they are easy prey. Send the hunters. Bring me the weapon." The chase was not over. It was only beginning. The bond that changed everything, the ruins stretched out in silence. Broken walls glowing faintly under the pale light of dawn. Smoke still rose from the destroyed camp far behind them, and every shadow seemed alive with danger. Daniel Cole pressed forward, his body aching, his shoulder bleeding. But his grip on Cale never loosened. The alien mother stumbled beside him, her strength nearly gone. Yet her eyes glowed with determination. She clutched Daniel's sleeve as if it was the only thing keeping her standing. But they were not alone in the distance. Red lights flickered between the ruins. The raiders had found their trail. Their voices echoed, cold and sharp. "The child. Find the child." Daniel's pulse quickened. He pulled the mother and Cale into the shelter of a broken archway. His breath came in hard gasps. He had no army. No backup, no orders left. Only his rifle, nearly empty, and his will to protect. "We can't run forever," he whispered. "They'll corner us sooner or later." The mother's face was pale, her arms trembling as she held her child. "Then, what we do? We die." Daniel's jaw set like iron. "No, we fight." The raiders came fast, their armor glowing red as they spread through the ruins. Their commander stepped forward, towering in black plates. His voice boomed across the stone. "Human soldier, you cannot win. Hand over the child, and I may let you live." Daniel stepped out from behind the arch. Cale held close in his arms. His voice was steady, his eyes unflinching. "If you want him, you'll have to kill me first." The commander's helmet tilted. So be it. Weapons rose. Fire lit the ruins. Plasma bolts streaked the air. Daniel dove behind cover, shielding Cale with his own body. Stones shattered. Dust filled his lungs. He returned fire, each shot desperate, counting down the last bullets. The mother crouched behind him, tears streaming down her face as she whispered prayers in her alien tongue. Cale cried out again, his voice piercing the ruins, shaking the ground, and then something happened. The glow in Cale's eyes flared brighter than ever before. His tiny body trembled, but his cries rose in strength. A wave of invisible energy burst outward, shattering walls, throwing raiders back like leaves in the wind. The ground cracked open, lights surging through the earth. Daniel stared in awe, holding on tight as the energy surged through him. It wasn't just noise, was power, alive and endless. But Cale's cry was not rage. It was reaching, searching. The raiders staggered, some fleeing in terror. The commander raised his arm, shouting, "Take the child." Now Daniel stood, clutching Cale against his chest. "No one's taking him." His voice roared above the storm, and in that moment, Cale's cries fused with Daniel's heartbeat. The energy bent, focusing, wrapping around them like a shield. Plasma bolts struck and vanished in bursts of light. Daniel felt warmth flood his veins, strength he had never known. For the first time, the power did not spin while it obeyed. The mother's eyes widened. "He bond with you," she whispered, trembling. "Cale choose you." Daniel felt it too. The baby's tiny hand clutched his chest, and somehow Daniel understood. The child's gift was not only destruction, it was connection, trust, bond. He raised his rifle one last time, his body moving with new strength. Each shot struck true. Raiders fell one after another. The earth shook with every cry, every heartbeat, until the ruins themselves seemed to rise against the invaders. The commander charged, roaring, his blade drawn. Daniel met him head-on, slamming into him with all the force the bond gave him. The clash shook the stones. The commander struck hard, but Daniel refused to fall. With a final cry, Cale's power erupted, blasting the armored giant into the ground. The commander screamed as his armor shattered, then lay still. The battlefield fell silent. The raiders fled into the night, broken and defeated. Daniel sank to his knees, exhausted. The power faded, the ruins still trembling from its echo. Cale rested quietly now, no longer crying, his eyes dim but peaceful. The mother dropped beside them, her hands trembling as she touched Daniel's arm. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but her voice was steady. "You save him. You save us." Daniel looked down at Cale, then at her. His throat tightened. "No, he saved me." For a long time, they sat together in the ruins, soldier, mother, and child, bound by something stronger than war. When dawn broke, the world seemed new. Refugees who had followed at a distance now stepped forward, their eyes wide with wonder. Some humans, too, soldiers who had deserted Reeves, refusing to follow his order. They had seen the truth with their own eyes. One whispered, "He fought for them." Another said, "No. He fought with them." Daniel rose slowly, Cale in his arms, the mother at his side. For the first time, he felt no division between alien and human, only family. He turned to the gathered survivors, his voice carrying across the ruins. "This child is not a weapon, he's a life. And if we can stand together for him, maybe we can stand together for more than that." The words settled in the silence, sinking deep. The war was not over. The enemy would return. But something had shifted forever. A bond had been made that no order, no commander, no enemy could break. Daniel Cole had gone against his command, against his own army, but in doing so, he had found something greater, not duty, not victory, but family, and in the bond between a human soldier, an alien mother, and her child. The future had already begun to change.